Sorry, you made me laugh. Fuck you. Hi and
Consistently messing up
welcome to
another
the
intro. Yeah,
Hi
the
and
streak
welcome to the Reel
continues.
McCoy podcast. I'm your host Meffistoe, and always with me, my hetero life mate, all my feelings. Good evening to you, sir.
Good evening, buddy.
Good evening. What is the Real McCoy? The Real McCoy is your weekly movie podcast where we ask you to go watch a movie, watch it, and come back to us, and we break it down, we talk about it, and we do all sorts of nasty things to it in the dark while listening to Cenobites. Anyway,
We're not covering Hellraiser.
we're
Stop it.
not covering Hellraiser. No. I'm just on a high. This month is October month, so we asked you to go and watch Texas Chain Saw Massacre. Yes, I did there. I went there. It was on my mind all week. I had to say it. Texas Chain Saw Massacre, 1974, the original by Tobe, right? Is it Tobe or
It's
Toby?
Toby.
Tobe.
Tobe Hooper. Yeah.
Yeah, Hooper.
Tobe
Classic,
Hooper and Kim Henkel. Yep.
classic story. We were supposed to have a guest, but of course, work stuff, IRL stuff.
It happens.
She does have the link. She might jump in midway through, but we'll see what we'll see.
That's fine.
So, before we actually begin everything, I want to thank our mod Saf for actually being here and doing his job. Okay, so before we actually begin, if you want to interact with the show, Twitter at Meffistoe, DMs are open. Same with Instagram at Meffistoe79, DMs are wide open. You telemarketers out there, you can digital marketers, you can go to hell. And of course, if you want to email the show and give us suggestions about movies, and we will promptly say no to them. No, just kidding. Suggestions about movies, suggestions about things on the show. If you want to be on the show, go ahead and just write me an email, and we'll see what we can do, because we love to talk about any individual about movies and the love of movies. So let's start off with the show. Let's what did we say? Texas Massacre, Texas Chain Saw Massacre, the original. Watched it once. Just once. And it was enough for me to remember that I really dislike this movie. It's god awful. It's just god awful. We'll go through why it's so god awful in my book, but it literally was so god awful. I made the short version and it got rejected 7 times.
7 times.
No, that's 8.
That'd be 8.
Seven copyright claims on it. I don't know.
Apparently, the film was so bad it broke your ability to count.
7. No, I'm literally. I wrote you this week. I said I don't think that we're gonna have a shorts. Because it gets copyright claimed on the shorts, and I don't want to tank the show. We're on the cusp of being monetized.
Yeah,
on the cusp of being monetized. I'm not joking.
The major issue why is because there have been so many legal battles about this film that we're gonna get into in a minute. But to your original point, I know you didn't care much for the film, and in retrospect, I'm starting to enjoy this film less and less the more I view it and the older that I get, specifically because I know I've seen so many better horror films. The only reason why when I first kind of created the list for this horror month and put it on there was because it's such a pivotal and important film for what it inspired down the road. What this film helped create is just astronomically important. So that's why I think this film is not great in any sense of the word. There are some complete scenes where you actively hate every character on screen, and you're kind of almost sad at the end when Sally doesn't get killed, because if I have to hear that woman scream for 5 more seconds, I'm going to lose my mind.
The thing is, watching it and having a lot of time to think about it, I immediately went to, yes, this is exactly why people not love, but appreciate this movie.
Hmm.
It's just opened people's mind. Remember, this is 74. This is after Romero was active, though, right?
Yes. Yeah.
But this was more mainstream, not mainstream. You'll talk about it on probably on the behind the scenes. So you know what? Nice segue. Let's go. We have a segment for everything that behind the scenes. So we call it behind the screens.
Production take 2.
This is where we turn to you and we get the lowdown on everything. Let's go.
So originally, Tobe Hooper began writing the concept of the film while he was actually working on a documentary set as a cameraman. And during that time, he was actually heavily interested in the story of Ed Gein, which obviously has been referenced in Psycho and just thousands of other films. But I think it's very more prevalent in this movie, especially a lot of the furniture and the human remains being utilized as, the lampshade that actually was the face that was covered over the light bulb.
Yep.
Yeah. Using a chainsaw actually came to Hooper as a concept, as the killer's main weapon. When he was in a full hardware store waiting in line, he looked and he said, I bet I could use this and I could cut through everyone and get to the front of the line.
I get it.
He was an interesting person.
Oh, I get it.
So, speaking of all the legal troubles to start off with, Hooper and Henkel formed Vortex Inc. in order to kind of produce the film. But they didn't have enough money. So they went to another film production company called MAB Inc. and returned for 50% of the film's box office, gross, and profits, and was it the circulation rights and everything.
Yeah. Okay.
They would give up $60,000 in order to produce the rest of the film. Right?
Okay.
The actors had to have their pay delayed because they were supposed to receive a portion of the profits as their payment. They had no idea that technically their portions were already cut in half because they gave half to MAB.
Okay. I get why SAG is actually a thing now.
They really screwed them over, and it gets so much worse, but we'll get to it. Some fun bits in between, because otherwise this is just sad.
No, just go. This movie is I'm just saying my runtime is an hour 23. You can, if you skip a lot, and I do mean a lot.
Yes, you could get it down in 30 minutes.
10.
You could get down to brass tacks 30 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
You could easily,
If you speed this up with editing and everything, cut away all the long shots, you can get it between 35 to 45 minutes flat.
Definitely. Easy. So, obviously, the cast is full of relatively unknowns at the time. It was Sally, who is played by Burns. Burns actually got, his name is, I forgot it. I just have it here. Gunnar Hansen, who plays Leatherface.
Yeah.
On the cast because they were friends.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Just you bring your friend, I'll bring my friend.
Mine.
We'll do a movie this weekend.
And the only real known name moving forward, outside of Hansen, who did play Leatherface, and he also did a lot of the stunt work moving on, going forward, was actually John Larroquette.
Where was he in this movie?
He's the voice of the narrator.
I'm just blown away. Holy shit.
Yeah.
No guest. She had to do stuff.
Yep.
She had to do stuff.
So,
but it's okay. We don't want to burn on her with this god awful movie.
Well, apparently she said that she really enjoyed it. And that's why I kind of wanted her critique on it. But anyway,
Okay.
I was going to say, then moving on there, Gunnar Hansen, who plays Leatherface, actually attended special needs schools in their classrooms because he figured that Leatherface is actually, mentally deficient. So he wanted to actually study their mannerisms and how they would act. And he studied actually a lot of children that had autism.
For 74, that's very progressive.
Yeah, I know it is.
I mean, method, but holy hell.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Due to the small budget, filming was done 7 days a week for up to 16 hours a day. Some scenes, the temperature peaked at 110 degrees or 43 degrees Celsius.
Did they actually film in Texas?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could get hot. It could get
Then
super
outside of
hot.
Dallas.
Yeah. Ooh, really? Okay.
Yeah. The original Leatherface costume was never washed in the month-and-a-half long shooting schedule because they were afraid they couldn't get it right the next time.
Oh, okay.
And they had no backup.
Yeah.
So that's all they had to work with.
No, Tom. I mean, god awful.
The farmhouse set was actually made with human bones, and to leak in, and also animal skins to mimic Ed Gein. But they also covered the walls with animal blood to simulate that. How it's kind of like their entire house is an abattoir.
That must have stank.
We're gonna
continue. Continue that because this is much better. This is much more entertaining than the actual movie.
Sally, the character that played Sally, her finger. The scene when they bring Sally up to see Grandpa and Grandma. Grandma is the desiccated corpse for the first time.
That weird little dinner that they were having. Yeah.
No, the dinner's after this. That's the first time she escapes from them is right after this. But when she sees Grandpa for the first time, they couldn't get the prosthetic blood to actually flow out of her finger correctly, so they just sliced her finger open.
Oh, shit. Oh, Tom, I need to get myself this, like, Al Pacino, I'm very disappointed clip. Yeah, I need to get that.
And by the end of the film, Sally, Burns' character, her outfit was so just matted with dried blood that it was stiff.
Oh, God. She
also pretty badly injured herself while running through doing the run thing throughout the woods.
The first one? To the barbecue shop or?
To the barbecue shop.
Okay.
Yeah. With Leatherface chasing after her.
Yeah.
Which is also funny is because Hansen actually had to slow down his gait, how he walked, because he would walk faster than Sally was running.
He's like twice as tall as she is. So every step, yeah.
And also that showed him, and that's why you see him in certain scenes just going and cutting down branches.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, well, I have to stop, otherwise I'm actually gonna catch her.
Yeah, but they were going through these thick brumbles, really thick brumbles. But it's okay.
Almost as if they didn't have the money to do sight coordination. Huh.
What was the budget? 120?
Overall, at the end, it got up to 120. But it's always estimated between 60 to 120 because some people don't count the MAB bit because MAB is a bunch of scummy assholes.
Okay.
Which we're going to get more into in a second because, God.
Don't worry. Don't be mad for them.
It's so bad. William Vale, who played Kirk, he actually was nearly nicked several times in his death scene because Leatherface was moving. Hansen wanted to make it look more realistic, so he had the running chainsaw anywhere between 2 to 3 inches away from his face.
Oof. We call that in the profession. We call that a Tom Cruise.
Yes, And it was also in the hammer scene at dinner where they give Grandpa the hammer and they put. Yeah, I don't know if you noticed that, but it did bonk her on the head once by accident.
Yes, I did notice that. I did,
And the
and
whole
I was
thing
going to
was
ask you.
the actor who was playing Grandpa Sawyer was purposely trying to move it away, and he was just dropping it. He wasn't actually swinging; he just let it go
Oh, okay.
to try to not hit her specifically.
Yeah, I was saying, I was. It looked like again. It looked like he actually hit her, and you're saying he did. Did she actually nick her head like it? Because there's a very small shot where they literally, because I remember that they literally like focus on where it hit on her head, and there's blood there. I was like, nah, I don't think so. It's actual blood. It's an actual injury.
Yeah. And also with all the cutting and everything for the brambles, that's why her costume was so bloody at the end. Because they did use some fake blood in this, but they didn't use much, which we're going to get to. For this being like let's just say it now. For it being a quintessential kind of slasher film, there is not a lot of kills and there's not a lot of blood actually shown.
Yeah. There are moments.
Yes.
Yeah, there are moments.
And there's a reason why.
They didn't have the budget for fake blood.
No, Hooper wanted to try to get a PG rating for this movie.
He didn't get it, did he?
No. In fact, it kept getting kicked back as getting an X rating every single time.
It rating?
Yeah, it finally got down to an R rating eventually.
Oh, okay. Because the one thing that was missing to me was partial nudity. This is 74. Partial nudity.
That's also the reason why there wasn't any nudity at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I get it. Because some of not Kirsty, the other girl was wearing practically nothing. Pam, she was covered, but she was wearing practically nothing.
Yeah.
I got half expected like a torn blouse and half a tit. No, not even when she was in the freezer. Nothing.
Nope.
I was like, okay, I guess.
So back on a little sadder bit. By the end of editing, the actors and Vortex were only able to recoup 40.5% of the overall domestic gross, right?
Okay.
Due to the issues with MAB and also with their editor that screwed them over really bad.
Okay.
Then after further legal battles, it got down to the point where of the total amount that the film made, they were only going to be able to receive $8,100.
For each actor?
No, for all of them.
Okay. Damn. Did they
just before inflation, it is $44,000, but it's also for the entire cast and crew.
And crew. Shit. Well, shit.
Yep.
Come to Hollywood, guys. We'll make $1 million.
Yeah. Which is so funny because the overall domestic gross and domestic and international gross overall was $18 million. This movie did phenomenally well.
Yeah, I guess. I thought as much. I didn't check, but I thought this was one of the... It's one of those movies where, oh man, you have to go and see what they were doing in this movie.
Oh, well, yeah. Especially in the 70s, it's a completely different dichotomy from where it is now. Like, if you were to see this movie when it came out in the 70s, this was a huge deal.
It's not only the 70s, it's like early 70s.
Early 70s, yeah.
Yeah.
Because this is before Halloween, that really kind of helped really break that mold of the slasher. And, yeah.
Before? No, this is after Halloween. Halloween was 73. So it was with the period, I think. Oh, go ahead. I'll check. I'll check.
Anyway, doesn't matter. Moving on. So what you mentioned, how gross the scenes were to get. The actor who played Grandpa Sawyer would only put on the prosthetics once. Apparently, putting up and applying the prosthetics took anywhere between 3 to 6 hours inside the heat then they would have to keep constantly reapplying due to the heat. So he made sure that they had one film session, and that was it. He did one take for everything as Grandpa, done.
Okay.
He said that also the smell inside the house of the dried blood,
Yeah.
the animal skins and everything
Make him
was so
gag.
terrible that like people were gagging on set constantly. Because you have to remember too, this is at 110 degree at some point in time's heat.
Yeah.
So it's just cooking inside itself.
Yeah.
Like one
78.
rancid oven.
I was wrong. 78.
That's what I thought. I thought it was 78
No.
or 79 they were
Yeah, yeah.
Halloween. So yeah.
I was wrong. I'll check with my brain to see what happened in 73.
But so yeah, that's about it for behind the screens. I mean, it's
Okay.
Overall it's a very sad story on how people got taken advantage of very badly.
The Exorcist.
Oh,
That was in 73. That's
Yeah.
the thing. That's the thing. I was like, what horror? I know there's a horror movie in 73 that kind of not one of Romero stuff, something that was in my brain. So it's The Exorcist.
Gotcha.
Obviously. The granddaddy. Well, not the granddaddy. I guess Psycho was the granddaddy of like horror movies like that, like slasher type deal.
Kinda, I guess you could call it
That's
that.
1960.
Mhm.
So we'll see. All right, let's just dump into it. It literally going through play by play here will literally even take us to an hour and a half minute. But yeah, I'm just gonna say the one. Well, I can't show the opening scene, but the opening scene literally is a cemetery with someone that dug up a body and put it together. Well, they dug up 4 mausoleums worth of bodies and just put them together in this weird kind of sculpture. And the one thing I wanted to touch upon is actually even before that, just a tad before that, is sort of kind of reminded me of something else. This reminded me of the Blair Witch Project for some reason. And I'll tell you,
yeah,
and
I
I'll
could
tell
see
you
that.
why. There wasn't any concept of found footage, right? So it starts off. Let me get to this. So it starts off with, you said it's John Larroquette, which is fucking phenomenal.
Yep.
Having to read this kind of tale that happened, and he kind of tells us basically the end of the movie, but not really. It tells us of a story of the brother and sister, and the brother is invalid, and this is their story that happened in the massacre of in Texas, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which to me, like I said, it's sort of a found footage kind of a movie, and immediately I'm going to the Blair Witch Project, and why it doesn't really fit with found footage, because there is no concept. Well, there is, but there isn't. There's no real concept of video, like home video. There was like these small little things that you could, I think it was 8mm, right? 8mm films, and you could take it. Some people that were pretty well off could have had these home videos that were not videos, they were on film. But when you had the handheld camera, once they made it a bit smaller, then the home video thing was a thing, and you can play with it a little bit and make
definitely
a film like Blair Witch Project, which is, oh, there's a camera, we found it, and that kind of tells us the horror story.
Yes.
Which is bullshit, because everybody thought it was found footage for real, and it wasn't actually for real.
Yeah, well, you've got to give the marketing team.
Oh yeah, the marketing
Just
team in Blair
kudos
Witch
for
Project
that.
was crisp.
I will say though, at the beginning you mentioned that the opening of the mausoleums and everything. That was one of his first big callbacks to Ed Gein, because that's what Ed Gein really did, was he was digging up the bodies. The only reason why he really resorted to actually murdering was because he was in Wisconsin and the ground was too cold for him to dig up corpses anymore.
Oh, glad
Yeah.
Tom is here. Right, cool. So it kind of opens up with road trip and some cripple falling down the steps.
His name is Franklin. Okay, he had a name.
Dude, Franklin is one of the dumbest characters in this fucking movie. He
Dumbest, but
is,
you also feel bad for him because he didn't do anything. In fact, he keeps telling his sister, like, you guys didn't want me to come on this vacation with you, did you?
yeah, he is, first of all, he's being a drag on this road trip. Not because you have to drag him around, relax. But
And you
he's
said it,
being
I
a
did.
bummer. He's being a bummer, man.
Yeah, he is a bummer. He is a bummer.
He is a bummer, right?
He's a bummer character, yeah.
Now, I don't fault him for, like, the dude just went out to pee. Like, he just went to pee and he fell. It's not his issue. It's because literally someone just raced through and just shook everything around and he fell.
Yeah.
I just found it kind of funny and very sad.
Mm-hmm. We have the scene where they're at the cemetery and then the old drunk man, where he's basically just kind of giving them that forewarning too, or
yeah. And in movies, it's always that crazy one who's actually telling the truth. It's the old wives' tales. It's like literally in all the Greek tragedies, the dumb motherfucker or the crazy guy or the court jester is the one that's actually telling you the truth.
Well, yeah, and it's also played off later in the original Friday the 13th. Remember?
Yes, exactly. Fred or Ned.
It was Ned. Yeah, like you're all doomed. You're all doomed.
Yeah, you're doomed. Yeah. So the crazy person is the one that's telling the truth. I think we talked about it last year when we discussed Friday the 13th.
And what's also really funny too is I don't know if you noticed throughout the film there's very little usage of any kind of music. Not only because the budget was so low that they couldn't get the rights, but he wanted to make it actually so unnerving by using sounds from slaughterhouses. And if you notice that mewling noise that it's pervasive throughout the film. And even in the speech of Leatherface, where that's why he wanted it that
sounds
way.
like a cow going to slaughter. So we move from the sort of a cemetery gathering. There's the guy who talked to the woman who's at the end, Burns.
Yes. Because I believe that was Drayton Sawyer was there too. And then you see Drayton at the gas station and barbecue place again later.
No, I don't think he was there. I don't think it was. I can go back and just actually look frame by frame. I don't think he's there.
Okay.
But they do keep on going, and they pick up a hitchhiker who is deranged. Like, as soon as they put him in there, he's like, I don't think we should pick this guy up. And he's literally in there.
And what's actually funny is the guy who played that actually received a commendation from the Texas State Police for reducing the crime rate by 18%.
How?
Because people stopped picking up hitchhikers after this movie came out.
Oh,
so they thought it was kind of a correlation.
That's hilarious. That is actually fucking hilarious. So there's this whole bit with the knife thing. Now, I guess Texas stuff, knives, I don't know. I shouldn't say Texas stuff, but you see it all over the place. Even here, people are not bragging, but it's like, yeah, I got a knife. And they're kind of comparing his straight razor and Franklin's like pocket.
It looks like a Swiss Army knife.
Yes, but it's just a knife.
Smaller one, yeah.
Yeah, it's just a knife. And and they literally don't throw him out after he actually cuts Franklin.
Not right away, and also
No.
I would have been a little bit perturbed by the fact that he just randomly just set the picture on fire after he took it.
And also, he was literally, it starts off with him like comparing knives, and he takes Franklin's knife, where if I was Franklin, I would give this fucking deranged guy a
Well,
knife.
actually, no. I'm sorry. I take that back. The thing that would have caught me off immediately was when he cut his own hand with
Yeah,
Franklin's
that
knife,
wasn't,
where
I
it's
was
like,
saying, it's like
yeah,
admiring the knife by cutting his
you
own.
gotta go, man.
Yeah. It's like, I know we promised to like get you there, but can you bring us the knife? Yes. Now that I have the knife back, you go away now. And I was like, why are they doing this? I again, for movie purposes, they kept it in because they were trying to have. This is why I don't like this movie. There's no purpose of the story to progress. It's just introducing a character that is completely deranged. Sort of like introducing a gun that you in the first act that you see in the third act.
Oh, so
That's
Chekhov's gun. Yeah,
that's the only story bit that kind of made sense. Otherwise,
yeah.
his whole character just did not make sense. He didn't send them anywhere. He didn't talk them out of anything.
Well, the only thing that I would say that he tried to set up, had they gone down that route, was he was saying, hey, my family's farm is up close. We can get you something to eat. Had they gone to the Sawyer house, then it would have paid off.
Yeah.
I will say too, sorry, but I misconstrued that. No, Drayton wasn't there. I'm conflating the two scenes of the gas stop and the cemetery scene. I don't know why I thought that, but
anyway, then he burns the picture. He took a picture and is like, I want this to be a memento. And then nobody
he
wants
says, well, $2.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to pay you we're not going to pay you $2 for that. Get out.
So he just burns it, and then he cuts Franklin, and they've had enough, but they still get him to where he needed to go. Did you realize they actually went to exactly the point where he needed to go and then kept going?
Well, it kind of seemed as though when he attacked Franklin, he knew that like they were close enough, so that they threw him out. And also, it's also just showing the inherent menace in that character. I'm really trying to save this.
Yeah, the story in this movie, we'll just leave it at that.
There's
He does
really not
the
much
only
of it.
thing that is kind of interesting in terms of story-wise or story progression is the fact that he tells them about how they kill cows, or how they used to kill cows, and how they kill them today.
Well, because
And
Franklin was talking about that before, about how they use
yes,
the air gun. He's like, oh, the hitchhiker was saying, well, that's no good. You have the sledgehammer was the only way to do it.
Yeah,
And then
the
he was
only
talking
way.
about how they make head cheese for like 3 minutes.
yes, which is disturbing. But then they get to the gas station where they stop for a barbecue. They don't ask where the meat comes from.
Well, they assume because that they smell the slaughterhouse. They're
Yes,
like,
of
oh,
course.
it's the beef. So
I mean, it's sort of a. I was thinking, the only thing I was thinking of is maybe that question of where's the meat coming from. That's the inspiration for the next like horror film. Oh, don't eat meat in a horror film because you don't know where the meat comes from. I'm just saying, I'm not a horror guy.
Yeah.
There's probably somebody out there who knows that it's better than me. But the thing that kind of captured, because again, I was sitting there watching this and I was like, I need to critically watch this to get maybe certain things, because this story is so fucking dumb. And the thing that triggered me about where this meat comes from is literally Franklin with his goddamn stick of meat that he has a little bit later when everybody
where
kind
he's
of
just
drops
holding
off,
up,
or the sausage or whatever he's holding. Is
Yeah.
like, yeah, Franklin.
If you want to go down a really deep rabbit hole, I mean, granted, this was a play off of, again, Ed Gein and the concept of cannibalism in a small town, but if you want to go that far, you can go back. I believe that's Logan's Run, correct? Soylent Green is people.
Logan's Run is not Soylent Green. Soylent Green
I'm
is
thinking of
Charlton Heston.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. Ugh.
Yeah,
I always conflate
maybe.
those two films. I don't know why, but anyway. No, but the concept like Soylent Green is people.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
Soylent Green with Charlton Heston.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm not gonna lie, that Coke machine, if fully restored, that's a lot of money.
That'd be worth a fortune.
Yes.
But anyway,
But
so we do
whatever.
have the gas stop scene where you do meet Drayton, who is
Yes.
another one of he's one of the older Sawyer. Is he there? Like I never really got that in the timeline whether he was the father of the hitchhiker and Leatherface or if he was their older brother.
I thought it was the father. Like, again, it's one of those movies where I've seen when I was a teenager to see it, and I simply didn't remember anything about it. I just remember being disgusted
Yeah.
rather than being entertained. And I guess I know why. I'm not super disgusted because it doesn't just like skull, bones, blood doesn't really disgust me anymore. It's sort of I expect it to happen.
Mhm.
So shocking me with some blood and stuff, it's maybe not my forte, but not shocking me. But I thought he was the sort of there's the grandpa, he's the paw, and the other two boys are crazy and dopey. So I mean,
Well, we're missing 5 other dwarves there.
no, yes, and no. I mean, crazy is just the hitchhiker, and dopey
Yes.
is Leatherface, basically.
Yeah. And well, we're going to talk about the grandpa later. There's another line that he had during an interview, which I find wildly hilarious, but it's really inappropriate. But so we have everything set up where Franklin always again is the canary in the coal mine. He is the one saying, "Hey, I'm worried that we might get followed."
Yes, and I was like, okay, maybe that's like a payoff, but it doesn't pay off at all.
Not really.
Because
It was sort of the whole setup of them going to the house. This is their grandfather's house, the one that was
Yes.
severely dilapidated, and then Franklin is the one who notices like the little animal bone altars
yes,
that are around the house. Like, okay, this isn't right.
yeah, it seems a bit off. It's
Well,
like,
you got Pam, Jerry, Kirk, and Sally inside the house just looking around, and they're like, "Oh, look at this terrible wallpaper."
yeah, and look at and I mean, look at this face.
Yeah, and him blowing raspberries to this. It's like, "Are you gonna have some fun?"
It's like, come on.
It's something a petulant child would do. Like I'm
Exactly.
5 years old and I'm throwing a tantrum.
Yeah, he looks adult enough, I guess. He's not talking gibberish and stuff. And what are you doing, Frank? He's like, he's being mean and stupid for for absolutely no reason other than just being mean and stupid. And I'm guessing like, when there's a situation like in Friday the 13th, there's some sort of a group dynamic where you can see, oh, it's the jock, it's the bimbo, it's the this, it's the that. So you have sort of a stereotypes where you can say, I hate this guy, I love this guy. Oh, this guy died. Oh, I hated this. It's fine. I hate it. Franklin is like, because his character is in a wheelchair, I think, plus you had that whole like intro where you're told that those are brother and sister, so there's a connection there. It's
Yep,
like,
yeah.
maybe he'll make it, and if he does make it, it needs to be maybe good looking. So you're supposed to cheer for this guy making it, but he doesn't do any justice for himself. Like, for me,
in a lot of ways, it's kind of subverting the trope while building on another trope because Sally is the quintessential final girl from the very beginning.
Yeah, that was set up immediately, and I was like, yeah, Why wouldn't you kill him? He's so unlikable. You have to kill him because that's how things work.
So we have that scene, and that's juxtaposed with Kirk and Pam going out there to find the I think the lake out there, and then they run across a running generator, and they find the Sawyer house.
Yes.
They go in, and what's always, I think the only good payoff in this is the fact that Leatherface, the two victims that he gets, that he really slaughters kind of on camera. Well, besides, sorry, I take that back. He doesn't do this to Franklin, but he hits both Jerry and Kirk over the head with a mallet, like they would if they were slaughtering cattle.
Yes, and that's a theme that came off later with Sally, right? Where they tried to hit her over the head, and the grandfather he's too weak, so he can't really hit her over the head. But the thing is this: if you noticed, it is one of the dumbest kills ever. He literally heard something, went back into the room, and it was so quick you can miss it. He trips. I stopped it at the moment he tripped. He literally tripped, and Leatherface is like, "Bink," and he picks him up, closes the door.
But he is not dead yet, remember.
No, he's not dead yet. He's not dead. He just bonks him over the head and closes the door. That's it. It's like, okay. And at this moment, I was like, well, that was quick. That was real quick. I mean, it's almost halfway through the movie. Or no, 1/3 into the movie. So you would expect the first death, where you don't really get a death, but you kind of, right?
Yeah. And that's also set up with, well, that's happening to Kirk. On the other side, Pam is stumbling through the house, and she finds that room full of chicken feathers and the chickens, and there's all the human bones. And then you see her retching, where it's like, I think they just were like, it's okay. You can now express how gross this scene is. Yeah. I mean, and how disgusting our set is right now.
I mean, you said there is 110 heat. Yeah. You could tell.
Yeah.
Here, you could definitely tell. I didn't pick it up before, but because, you know, it's movie magic and stuff. But yeah, you could definitely tell.
Mm-hmm. And everyone was absolutely miserable.
The thing is, when she tries to run away from the house, let me see. She tries to run away from the house. Mm-hmm. She gets just grabbed by Leatherface. I don't think he hits her over the mallet. The head.
No, he puts her on a meat hook.
Oh yeah. He puts her on a meat hook. There we go. Again. Very PG, by the way. If it wasn't PG, it would have protrude out of her, whatever he put, like her shoulder or something.
Yeah, like underneath her collarbone to show that it's holding her up there. And there would have been blood. There would have been a lot of blood.
Yes. And I was like, shouldn't there supposed to be blood? It seemed very weird at the time, but when you're saying they were going for PG, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, good time to stop. You know what's happening because it's our first segment of the night. We love to call it Missing Marquee. Missing Marquee for the uninitiated. As we take 10 posters, have their text written off, we display them, and Oh My Feelings needs to guess which movie this is. It's going to be lightning round starting now.
About Schmidt?
About Schmidt.
Drawing a blank there for a second.
Yeah, don't worry.
Oh, no. I don't know it. I know. That's a blank. Oh. Colin Farrell's entire career is just a blank to me. I know 2 movies that he's been in, and that's it.
Come on, chat. Do me a solid here.
Is that Hearts War?
Hearts War, correct.
Oh, I do remember it. Okay, cool. How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days?
Correct.
Jack Reacher?
Jack Reacher.
Is that Rambo 3?
No.
Rambo, Rocky 3. What?
Rocky 3, correct.
What? My brain. Is that Cannonball Run?
Cannonball Run.
Girl with a Dragon Tattoo.
Girl with Dragon Tattoo.
The Rock?
The Rock.
Tropic Thunder.
Correct.
Unbreakable.
Fucking believable. That was good.
I can't remember. I just remember Hearts War. Like I knew
was
Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis was the thing that got me because I know he was in a movie with Colin Farrell.
That movie was awful.
I'm glad I've not seen it. So
it's one of those movies where you're like minute 15. Yeah, Bruce Willis ain't being he ain't surviving this movie. Not this one.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
It's
like, one of those where like you got for the name and you're gonna be on set for 3 weeks. Cool. All right.
No, he lasts quite a bit of the movie. So it's like Armageddon, where you're like, I know Bruce Willis is gonna not survive this. I just don't if it's minute 15 or minute like 85 out of 95.
So would you say the Aerosmith song would be also apropos for that one?
No, because
you wouldn't want to close your eyes.
Why do you do this for me? Why did you do this to me? Why? I hate that fucking song. I mean, it's one of those songs where I hate them because they were on all the time. It's not a bad song.
It's one of those big pop hits from the late 90s where basically any kind of radio station were just like, and by the way, for the third time this hour,
Armageddon. Don't want to close your eyes. God help us. God help us all. And we get introduced, by the way, back into the movie. We get introduced to the chainsaw. Where they kind of said the Texas Chain Saw Massacre. And up until this point, you're like, well, it's not a massacre yet. But you see the thing, and I was like, okay, things are about to pick up. No, they're not.
You really couldn't call this a massacre either.
No, more than three people dead is a massacre. Technically.
I
don't know. I'm serious.
I would rather call it like the Texas mass murder. I mean, that's really.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, because obviously Leatherface isn't a serial killer. He doesn't have a type. He just kills to kill.
Yeah, he just kills to kill.
That's all.
Now, the next scene is literally him carving up a human being. Can't really show that. But we don't know.
That's with Kirk, yeah.
Yeah, but at this point, we don't actually know Pam's outcome. We know she's on a meat hook.
Correct, yeah.
But we don't know the outcome. Now, he doesn't actually kill her at all. He puts her in the freezer.
Correct. It doesn't actually show her being killed ever, but she's put in the freezer. Yeah,
and she is dead, but she's literally just put in the freezer. So you don't see her getting killed. Mm-hmm. You assume. Well, you can see it later. So it's starting to be like evening, nightfall. So you can tell, like, maybe they used a filter, and this is midday, but. Obviously it looks like evening, and they're looking for their friend and their friends, and they're not there, and they go on and search for their friends.
I'm sorry, I had to laugh at that.
What?
Meth, you think they had budgets for filters? No, they were shooting up to 16 hours a day. This has happened to be dusk.
Okay. Oh, it's dusk. Time for the shot that is outside looking for Pam and whatever Kirk.
Yes. So they have Jerry, who, by the way, Jerry is an asshole.
Oh yeah, the driver. Oh,
Jerry's a real piece of shit.
We do have a little bit of exposition dump talking about Grandpa and should they or shouldn't they live in the house or not.
It's like, have you seen the state of that? No, sell the land. Get the hell out of there.
Yeah, they literally have a conversation on what to do with the property and why. I think Franklin actually mentioned the like weird figurines or something.
Yeah, the altar that was in there,
and she's
and the, like,
kind
the
of
wind chimes that were above. Yeah,
and she kind of dismisses it, right?
Yeah.
And she seems like she wants to stay there for what, a weekend? I couldn't tell why she wanted to stay. I'm was dead serious. I did not know why she wanted to stay.
I'm thinking the only thing is because Sally really hasn't had the opportunity to really see the rest of the house yet. I guess to try to understand. Maybe you could find some mementos of their grandfather that hadn't been gone through yet, or something like that. Yeah, because if anything, they're just now going down there to visit, basically like the site of their grandfather's grave, and then also his old house. So to them, it's kind of a bit of remembrance. So I could see Sally fighting for wanting to stay there for just a weekend.
Yeah,
But beyond that, it's like, no, burn that thing to the ground and sell the land.
exactly. I mean, it's good land. So Jerry finds the neighbor's house, and he literally goes up to the red door with all the skulls in it. And oh, look, they're very interesting. And I was half expecting
Bonk.
to get him get bunked and like carried away and close the door. I was like, oh, it's subverting my expectation. So he
Patient.
goes in to a room that looks like a slaughterhouse.
House. Yeah.
Bloody meat hooks, bloody, everything, right? So everything is fucking crazy. And he finds I don't know why he heard something that made him open the freezer, and he actually finds Pam. And as soon as he finds Pam,
Bonk.
bam, bonk, and Jerry's being carried away as well.
Yep. Apparently, in this one, unlike Primus' song, Jerry was not a race car driver. He was a murder victim.
Yeah. There is a scene where Leatherface is literally sitting there. It's just sitting there. And then there's a close-up shot of his face, so you can tell it's a mask. Because before, you could see it's some sort of a cover, but there wasn't any close-up of it. You could see it's a cover. You see it's a face mask. But when there's a close-up shot, you could see the stitches and what the material is made of.
Yes.
Right? And from when it was just him killing Kirk, it again looked like a mask that something was sewn into the teeth stuff from far away. But when you get closer, it's like, oh, it's his mouth.
Yeah, where you can see, oh, yeah, the prosthetics that they made.
Yeah.
That poor man wear. Oh, man, that's rough. That's rough.
Yeah. So at this point,
and later, I thought that's the game references, especially to Leatherface's mask, aren't so apparent at the beginning. He's just wearing, a mask of human skin. But at the end, especially at the dinner scene, where it actually clearly has makeup on, where it's like, okay, hey, you're beating us over the head like Jerry and Kirk with this metaphor. Got it. All right.
Yeah, I got that too, and I was like, I get it. Okay. So the thing is, it's already dark. Jerry's gone. Pam's gone. Kirk's gone. It's like, okay, let's go into these dark woods.
And now we have literally 10 minutes of bickering between the brother and sister about then and also it's like, give me the flashlight. Nah, the flashlight. Well, I'll go with you, but I can't get you through the woods, Franklin.
Now the thing is, I don't know if it's my version or whatever. Everything was when there was no flashlights in the scene, everything was fucking dark. It was dark to the point where you can barely see her running and barely see Leatherface chasing. And I was like, well, it's 74. It's filming in the dark. It's low budget. Yeah, you're not going to see fucking nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Actually contributes a little bit to the ambiance, but there's no scary music. So you're kind of lost in this chase scene where literally Sally takes Franklin into these woods, and then out comes Leatherface and he chops him to pieces, right? and then
Which, by the
chases.
way, that's where I say, like, subverting expectations of Franklin being, the brother of Sally, and like how that mentions them specifically in the narration at the beginning. You're thinking, oh well, Franklin's gonna make it with Sally, and then it just opens up and just like, well, Franklin's
Yeah.
dead.
Yeah, right about this point. I can show it because there's no blood in it, but yeah, he literally there's a shot of Leatherface with a flashlight in his face so you can see him, and then he just lifts his thing and it's like bzz, it's like, and she, instead of turning and running away in this makeshift path where there's no brumbles, she runs like
Headlong
across
into the woods,
into
like
the woods.
deeper, where you're like, I have no idea where the hell I'm going.
Yeah. Let me give you a shot. This is one of the shots where you can see her clearly. In
Yeah.
the other shots, it was literally, you can see like a piece of fabric, like her
shirt. Her shirt was what you could really see, and
mid-torso,
also
or
I
a
think
little
that's
bit of the
why
pants.
I think that's maybe why the reason why they cast her at, like, the I would say costume designers, if they had one on here. I think that's the reason why they had her wear white pants, so you could see her.
You can see
more
it in the dark.
clearly in the
Yeah,
dark.
it could be. It could be.
But also how I told you how she was injured doing those running scenes throughout the brambles. You can see how easily someone could get injured by trying to run full sprint through that.
Yeah. Yeah. So she runs away, and she actually runs into the family house where she can see a house. There's lights. She's like, oh, that's safety. Nope.
Mhm.
And she goes in. There's nobody in the house. Suddenly, nobody's chasing her. Suddenly, right? She goes into the house. Wait. And she goes, I think she goes upstairs, right?
Yes.
And she finds, oh, he is chasing her. She closed the door and he's just chopping the door, right? And she goes up to the house, and there's
That's also why Drayton chastises him later.
yes.
Look what you did to the door! What did you do to the door?
Yeah, there we go. I had it for a second there. She goes up to the top floor, and then she sees the two dead bodies, where I think the grandpa isn't actually dead, but she thinks he's dead.
He's dead, yeah.
And the grandma, where it's a full skeleton with a wig and
Yeah.
Psycho. That's why I mentioned Psycho.
That's actually his homage to Psycho as well. It was Hooper's homage to Psycho.
Yeah. Let's give you the door, because it literally it flashes for a second there, right? As he chops through the door, she's like, she sees the grandpa. She kind of shakes. It shakes, right? And she goes to the other chair. There's the grandma. She yells, and then she just busted through the freaking window and falls out of the house. And suddenly, once she falls out of the house, that's where it seems like he stopped chasing her. But then she goes back into the brumbles, and he's definitely chasing her.
Yeah. And this is where you specifically start to see the little side cuts of him stopping and just going and cutting up trees.
Yeah, it's literally, this is how dark this is.
It's very difficult to see, but how, as I mentioned before in the Minds of the Screen segment, he had to stop because he would catch up with her.
Yeah. Like I said, when you watch it and you don't know you don't know that he was like doing this too fast, you're like, why is he just wailing away at stuff? And yeah, I guess that's what it is. And then once she reaches the barbecue place, like once it's in sight, he kind of stops, and he stops chasing her for real this time.
Yeah.
Right? This is where she goes into Drayton's barbecue place. She kind of looks, it looks familiar. She goes into the house. She smells the meat, and she meets Drayton, and he's like, oh, don't worry. This is okay. We'll there's nobody chasing you, girl. Relax. There's nobody chasing you. And yeah, did he knock her over the head with a mallet?
No, he goes out to go grab the bag and rope to put her in the bag
Oh yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
tie
yeah,
her up
yeah,
and take
yeah, yeah, yeah.
her into the truck and drive her
Oh,
back to the house.
you're being robotic a little bit, and I'm not sure it's me or you. Yeah, your camera's off, dude.
Yeah, it's just
Oh, okay.
I'm
You're
losing
back. You're back.
connection.
Okay.
Okay, I was losing connection there for a second.
Uh,
It keeps dipping in and out.
yeah, yeah.
Something's up with Restream right now.
It looks fine. It looks fine.
Okay.
On my end, it looks fine. You're like 10 out of 10. Good.
But anyway, the more important thing is the fact that she realizes that something's completely wrong when she starts looking over at the pieces of meat. And I don't know if you caught what some of the pieces of meat look like. It's like, uh-oh.
Finger sausages.
Yeah, that's not
You're
good.
breaking up a little bit. Don't worry about it. Keep talking.
So anyway,
your camera's being weird.
When Drayton gets her into the car, I still find it hilarious every single time when he's sitting there and just poking her with the broom. It's always just funny to me because he's sitting there like, shut up, girl.
Yeah. I get it. I get it. Maybe it's just to emphasize that he is like crazy.
He's a sadist too, but he's not as bad as his sons or his brothers, whichever interpretation there is on who Drayton is.
Yeah. I've no idea. It could be like three brothers, but I think he's like the father. The grandpa is the grandpa, and
I
the
can't
kids
remember
are
in the other, like especially in the more modern interpretations, like when they did the remake, they made it clear that who the father was in the narrative, and they also had a mother in the narrative.
Who's the director that did the remake? Do you know? If you don't, I'll just check it next time you.
I don't know. I'm thinking it might have been Eli Roth.
Okay, I don't know who that guy
Possibly.
is, but okay, I'll check.
Eli Roth. You know who Eli Roth is. You definitely know who Eli Roth is.
The name doesn't ring a bell, but I'm bad with names, so
yeah.
So they bring her in the house, and then you have this weird ass dinner where
they have the whole setup too, where Drayton's chastising the hitchhiker.
Yes,
like, how could you just? What are you doing out there? You're just running around all day. Well, I made it home, and then he's yelling at Leatherface for again messing up the door. But also, he kind of loses his anger and composure for a second because, like, are you sure that none of them got away? And Leatherface, none of them did get away. To be fair, Sally was the only one who didn't get away, but they got him at her at the barbecue shop. So
yeah, so it doesn't really matter.
Doesn't matter.
So Drayton tells the Leatherface to bring Grandpa down, or Paw. Did it say Paw, right?
Paw, yeah,
Paw. So not Grandpa. I'm just saying Grandpa. He brings him down to this. It's so bizarre. It's like a bizarre. I get it that they were going for bizarre. It's weird. It's so it's.
The only
it seems
thing
to
about
me it's a little bit too on the nose.
The only thing about the dinner scene is like
the
dinner scene could have been fantastic if they would have cut it by at least 10 minutes.
Yeah, it dragged on and on and on.
Because that's what whenever anybody talks about the Texas Chain Saw Massacre, this is pretty much a scene that they always refer to is the dinner scene.
Yeah, I guess.
The major issue though about this is the fact that you just hear Sally scream for about 15 minutes.
Yeah, to me, above all, it just like I'm looking at the timer, the clock, and I was like, we're about 10 minutes away from this movie to end. There's only one person to kill. She has to stay alive, because when you have a narrative situation, if she dies, nobody knows about the story, which means she has to live.
Yeah.
So she's the classic it girl. She's the
no,
class.
she's the final girl. She is the
She's
titular
yes,
final girl. That's what she is.
She is the final girl, and she has to get away somehow, and she keeps yelling and yelling and yelling, and I was like, oh my god, just fucking kill her already. Holy hell.
Then we get the scene with the finger cut, and also with the hammer scene, as we mentioned before.
Yes.
Could you show a close up of the grandpa? If you could just get a look on his the prosthesis that he had
I'll
on.
try. I mean, it's very hard to get. This the best I can do.
Okay, no, that's fair. That's fair.
Okay.
So, what's important about that is, you know, how I mentioned the fact that the actor would only do one full set of every single scene, and that was it.
Yeah.
He said, that's the worst experience I've ever had in my entire life. I was in Vietnam where people were actively trying to kill me, if that tells you how bad it was.
And it's probably even worse in terms of heat, because in Vietnam it's very hot and very, very humid as well, because it's Southeast Asia. It's like Laos, Vietnam, Thailand, all that area is jungles where it's almost constantly raining, or if it's not raining, it's very humid, and like in 40-degree heat, it feels like it's 60.
Yeah.
Well, in Celsius. So
Yeah.
it's 110 going on 130 Fahrenheit, somewhere in that region, with a lot of fucking you sweat like a motherfucker.
Yeah.
Let's just say that. In this whole convoluted dinner where they literally want the grandpa to give her the final blow, and he kind of misses it, but he does hit her, and you do see a little bit of blood. So he's like, oh, is she not getting away? Okay, fine. I guess at least if she's dead, she's shutting up. But no, they keep arguing.
Yeah,
They keep arguing, and the grandpa just can't hold. He can't hold physically. He can't hold the mallet. So
and it was the hitchhiker who keeps constantly saying, "Just let me kill her. Just let me kill her. It'd be fine." And is Drayden, on the other hand, you have to. The other part that's important about the scene is Drayden. Why Drayden didn't just kill her there and then take her corpse back to the house was because he says, "I don't know how you boys do it. I just get no joy out of killing."
Yeah, that's the most important thing. So Drayden is the facilitator of this whole thing.
Well, the hitchhiker just keeps calling him, well, you're just the cook. You're just the cook.
Yes. And it they kind of get into this fight where I was like, can you just shut this bitch up? Could you just get it over with? And she cuts loose. She gets away while they're arguing, and she just runs to the road. And
you notice the juxtaposition in timing, where it's dawn.
Yes, it's dawn. It's already
that
dawn.
was a really quick night.
Yeah, that was a really, really quick night. Now you're saying her top is literally encrusted with blood here.
Yeah, and her pants too. They said that they were stiff with blood at the end of filming.
Yeah. Let's. Oh, you said about the makeup. This is where you can actually clearly see it. You can see it a little bit in the dinner scene, but this is where you can clearly see it because it's broad daylight. He's chasing after her. She finds this truck with this driver, and I don't know how that driver actually.
And actually, no, it was. That's the thing is the hitchhiker catches up to her and slashes her a couple times with a straight razor.
Yes.
And then she manages to push him away as a speeding semi-truck just runs him over.
Yes. And I was like...
The semi-truck driver stops while Leatherface is running at them with the chainsaw. Sally gets into the truck, and I'm thinking, why don't you just restart the truck?
And
why did you both get out of the truck?
Yeah, they literally play this cat and mouse game where they go around the truck. He's chasing them around the truck. They go into the truck. It's like, you were in the truck. Just put the pedal to the metal and just go. Just freaking go. And they go out the other side again. I was like,
What's funny too is the black truck driver is the
yeah.
unsung hero of the whole
Yeah,
movie.
he is. He is. Literally.
That, and then the other random pickup driver who just like lets Sally just pop into the back. And if you see a maniac with a chainsaw, you're like, yeah, I'm driving off now.
Yeah, I'm driving the fuck off. I'm not picking up nobody.
Well, because it's the truck driver that actually hits Leatherface over the head with a hammer, and he drops his chainsaw and it cuts him in the leg.
Yes. Yeah, about here. So he does faces up to him. Like the truck driver does stand up to him and he gets him to drop it and everything. But it's just like Sally finds another dude. Sally's, like I said, she's a real bitch. That truck driver just saved you and you run off with somebody else.
I wouldn't say she's a bitch. It's more just the fact, like, it's greater realm of self-preservation at that point. At that point in time, that car is still actively running. I can jump in the back of it and we can go.
Yeah.
The truck driver got out of the truck.
I mean, even with the obvious gash to his thigh, Leatherface is like, I'm gonna kill this bitch. Let me at her. And they just drive off.
And we get the titular scene of Sally laughing hysterically, covered in blood, in the back of the pickup truck, and Leatherface doing his little chainsaw dance.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the truck driver, I don't know if you noticed, but you saw him still running in the opposite direction on foot, where it's like,
yes,
no, now you run back into your truck and get it and drive the hell away.
Yes, yes, which made absolute like. Yeah, there we go.
I don't know, man.
There we go.
But, yeah.
There we go. Oh, she is literal. I was like, at this point, I was like, oh my God, there's a minute left on this movie.
Well,
roll the fucking credits.
Do you want a spoiler?
Cool. No, yeah.
The brand new Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you finally get to see Sally die. So, if you ever want to watch it,
I'm watching it.
And the new one is way out there. It's more of the typical kind of, late 2000s slasher than it is.
Oh, just straight up Saw.
There's a scene where he kills literally an entire bus of people.
Great. Awesome. I'm going to watch that. Cool.
Yeah.
I'm not a horror guy. I'm not a slasher guy, but I'm seeing this lady just gets annihilated.
I want to see Sally die.
That character. Dude, it's just the screaming. You would expect screaming, but oh my God, just stop. Oh. Right. Before we summarize this movie, we have another segment for you. My personal favorite. It's called Screen Fighter.
Round 1. Fight.
Screen Fighter for the uninitiated is we take two movies, pit them together, and see which one is the best one. If there's no discernible difference between the two, both of them are good, both of them are bad, we fall into our criteria, which is Saturday evening, Friday evening, out with the boys, out with the girls, out with your significant other. We've got two movies in a vacuum. Which one will we pop in and bablam? The Da Vinci Code or Shaun of the Dead?
Do you even need to ask?
I ask, sir.
Of course it's Shaun of the Dead.
Chat participation is most welcome. I know it's going to lag a lot, but we're going to do quite a few of these to end the show. So, Shaun of the Dead for you. It's real hard for me. No, it's not. It's Shaun of the Dead.
I mean,
I like the book, the Dan Brown book. Actually talked about it this weekend with my wife about the whole Mary Sue and Gary Stu. And I kind of suggested that in Dan Brown's books and the movie, Robert Langdon is a Gary Stu. He literally can do no wrong.
That's fair. Yeah.
Which kind of
Yeah.
which kind of puts me in the mood of, oh, now I get why book critics really dislike Dan Brown.
Yeah.
Right. Spawn, the original, or 1408. I don't think I've seen 1408.
Okay.
Remind me what it's about.
That is where it's an author. His child dies. They get the key to 1408 where he can actually speak to his child, but it's weird. It's a play on guilt and loss, and at the end he ends up burning down the room.
Oh, I've seen it. It's kind of a weird
really
movie.
weird, and also it's only like I want to say a 45-page.
Yeah. It's
a very, very tiny short story within a whole bunch of, like, it's one of those things like 4 Past
Isn't
Midnight.
the rundown for this movie like an hour 10?
I think it's a full hour and a half, but they just stretched the material to its breaking point.
It seems longer than it actually is. Another one of those Stephen King. You didn't like those things. One of those novellas.
The novellas that didn't need to be made at all in any way, shape, or form. Like, I would give it to, like, the Langoliers. I don't know if you ever saw the Langoliers.
I have not.
It was like a TV movie that they made in the 90s. Bronson Pinchot was in it, for Christ's sake.
Ooh, wow.
But it was actually interesting because that in 4 Past Midnight, that was like I want to say it was a 90-page actual, like, part of 4 Past Midnight. And since it was a TV movie, they got to intersperse it with commercials, so the runtime was already pre-padded.
Oh, okay.
So it actually made sense. The Langoliers is actually a really interesting story. It's all about how how time in itself is always being consumed by these things called the Langoliers.
Okay.
So they're actually on a flight, lightning strikes their plane, and they end up going back in time. I think it's a half hour, but they have to land at this airport, but all the food's stale, everything's going bad, and the sun's like, it's getting like darker and grayer all the time.
Okay, I need to see that.
Yeah.
Right. So which one of these movies will you actually pop in?
Unfortunately, I would actually pop in Spawn. It's a terrible movie, and it nearly killed the concept of comic book films because it nearly killed the pre-production on Blade.
Yes,
the box office.
When we discussed Blade, we did discuss this. I'm gonna actually watch Spawn because now that I remember what the movie's like 1408 is all about, it's just not entertaining enough.
1408 is it's kind of a bummer.
Yeah, Big or Happy Feet. Happy Feet is a DreamWorks movie.
Correct.
You want me to start?
Oh, I'll go ahead. I'm going to watch Big every single day of the week.
Yeah.
The only issue that I have with Big is the fact that that woman, at a certain point, you have to realize you had sex with a child. Because I know it's a child in a man's body, but you had sex with a child.
Yes, but
that's why it's a messed up story.
Yes. I would go with Big any day of the week. It kind of sucks at the end because it's really funny and really enjoyable throughout about 80% of it. And then the last 20% of the movie, it kind of takes a downturn in terms of sort of like feel where they go into more of the dark place of what actually happens to a 13-year-old that looks like 30 and the repercussions of everything that, like, what you set that aside throughout most of the movie, which is fun and happy and
it's mostly a lot of levity
funny.
that eventually just kind of turned into a real sad note.
It's really dark. It kind of a bummer. Do we actually need to
no, we don't.
This pair?
You can just pick it. It's done. Easy. The only thing I was going to say that's other about Big was there is actually a film that kind of it put on the child's concept of, oh man, I wish I had this. Like him wishing he was an adult, or you know how when you're a kid, like, oh man, what do I do if I had $1 million? There is
Yeah.
a dumb kids movie called Blank Check that is just all fun
I
and
remember
no
that
filler.
movie.
Where
I
that's like,
remember that
yeah,
movie.
that's just a fun kids movie, and if like, you kind of ignore the fact that the kid committed multiple accounts of fraud.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. All right. Cool. Looper or what about Bob?
Oh, that's a good one. Go ahead, bud.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with I wouldn't have said that about a month, maybe. Oh, when's the last time I've seen Looper? About 4 months ago, I think. By now,
Mhm.
about 4 months ago, I would have said, "What about Bob?" Now, I'm definitely gonna say Looper. The concept of the movie is interesting. The way that they've done it, actually, kind of irks me because it plays with the time loop stuff that works and it kind of being massaged into existence. But I love the acting in it and I love Joseph Gordon-Levitt in it very, very much.
Yeah, yeah.
What about Bob? I don't like it as much as I used to.
I will wholeheartedly agree with that one. I originally, when I saw What About Bob, I actually saw that with my parents at the outdoor theater when,
Okay.
when I was a kid, and I loved it because I loved Bill Murray as a kid, and also I found Bob's being insufferable hilarious. Watching it later in retrospect, I hate that character.
Yes.
And I understand why Richard Dreyfuss wanted to kill him throughout the entire movie. It made sense. Looper, on the other hand, I think you're right. I like its take on the concept of time travel. And also, they didn't use the tried and true grandfather paradox, which
Yes.
is like they always end up utilizing that, like, oh, well, I need to take him out. Well, we'll just kill the person that was their parent before they met their significant other, so they'd never be born.
Yes, but it's also plays on the sort of the inevitability of you can't do a grandfather paradox because it's a paradox and it's like it doesn't work. It literally doesn't work. And
Yeah, because
I like that.
the villain was going to be created regardless. That was the
Yes.
whole concept
Yes.
of the story. Yeah.
Right. The Princess Diaries or Toy Story, original Toy Story. When Pixar was actually just Pixar,
Yes.
the distribution was Walt Disney.
Disney. Mm-hmm.
You want
Go
me
ahead.
to start?
Yeah. Go
Okay, cool. I would go with Toy Story, just because the Princess Diaries didn't work for me. I was too old when it came out to enjoy it. I think if I was maybe not me at 12 years old, I would have enjoyed it. Like a 12-year-old girl or a non-broken 12-year-old boy. I'm literally, I would have enjoyed it in my early teens. Toy Story is a fantastic story, and it's definitely not a kids movie, but it is a kids movie. It's sort of and it's an adult movie in a kids movie disguise.
I think in many ways, Toy Story did what Shrek did, but just 6 years prior to it, where there's so many adult themes in Toy Story, like there are in Shrek, but it's just the underlying subversive meanings behind certain scenes. I agree with you too on the Princess Diaries. Granted, like, had I been of the opposite gender, perhaps I would prefer the Princess Diaries. But to me, I had no ties to it. I was immediately just threw it off as another one of those Walt Disney fluff films, because this one came out just after the remake of The Parent Trap.
Yes,
With Lindsay Lohan. So it's just like, oh, it's another one of those. It's either a remake or it's going to be one of those films that I have no.
It's a concept that you would find in a Walt Disney movie back in the 70s with Kurt Russell in his early days. Right, Wayne's World. It's or a Rear Window is kind of hard to compare.
This is a difficult one.
Wait, is it? No, it's Wayne's World 2, I think. No, 1992.
No, that's just Wayne's World.
Yeah. So Never mind. Go ahead.
With
Weird.
my love
You
for
know why it's weird, because you know why it's weird, right?
yeah. Anyway,
Because they
I
were both on the list.
yeah, I know.
Okay.
I'm well aware of it. We just haven't gotten to Rear Window yet.
Yeah.
I have to go with Rear Window because of
Hmm.
how impactful it was. Because even recently, they just did basically a retelling of this story
Yeah, and they called it something else, right? I don't know.
in a drama, and then in a film that was mocking the drama.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Okay. Um, it's cult classic. It's James Stewart again,
Hmm.
working with Hitchcock.
Yeah.
It's suspenseful, and it works on the fact that you don't really know. It works a lot of not what happened, what you think you saw, but maybe you didn't see it,
See it.
but
Hmm.
you know you saw it, but you don't actually know. So it's not horror, or the horror comes again from the suspense of
Hmm.
not actually, not actually watching it, or getting a glimpse of a thing, and maybe your mind kind of fills in the blanks.
Exactly. Yeah.
I For entertainment's sake, I would probably go with Wayne's World.
No, that's
But
completely fair. Yeah.
in terms of best movie, I would actually watch Rear Window. I would actually watch Rear Window again, and I'm gonna vote for that. So we'll do that. One last one, maybe not last one. It's Abyss for me.
Yeah, it's the Abyss.
It's the Abyss.
It has some of the best practical and early CGI effects that have ever been committed to film. So
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Great. That's the last one. It's easy for me. It's the longest. No, just kidding. It's Star Wars.
Oh
Not New
man,
Hope, not Episode 4. Star Wars.
you didn't like Nelly in The Longest Yard?
You know what? Have you seen the original The Longest Yard?
Yeah, it's not bad.
It's not bad. I prefer this Longest Yard. I know.
Wow,
For
that's
entertainment's sake, this
wow,
Longest
man.
Yard is more
That's a
funny
statement.
more funny to me than the original one. The original one was less jokey, more
Yeah.
hardcore. But for this particular pair, it's definitely Star Wars.
I think that version of Longest Yard that had Terry Crews in it too, if I'm not mistaken, right?
It had Terry Crews.
Yeah.
It had actually a Dallas Cowboy, Michael Irvin,
Yeah.
one of my favorite players of all time.
And
Just because
now was Stone Cold Steve Austin and Goldberg in that?
Stone Cold Steve Austin was in it, Goldberg was in it, Big Daddy Diesel was in it too.
Oh, that's right.
It was
Because they
off.
fed that was the one that hits as the guy they fed all the estrogen.
They
to.
fed all the estrogen, and he went all
God.
kooky, and it's like, oh my god, yes, that's why.
You know, we gotta stop talking about because you're talking me into it.
Oh, I'm definitely watching it. I'm gonna do like a YouTube Shorts on it. I don't give a
But
fuck.
obviously, it's Star Wars. I mean, come on.
And it had fucking Joey Diaz in it, so.
Oh yeah, Joey Diaz was in it. Yeah, wow.
My favorite scene is where it's at the game, and the warden comes in, and Joey with his fucking full belly out and only a jock strap. And I was like, and it's one of those scenes where it wasn't supposed to be that. Just the director didn't want him to be in a jock strap, but Adam Sandler said, just wear just the jock strap. It would be hilarious.
It's just like well, then also you just don't tell Joey Diaz what to do. He just like
no, he literally said, I want you to be in the jock strap to have your like dick and balls out, literally, without having them out. And Joey's like, all right. And remember, Joey was still a coke fiend at the time, so he was doing
yeah.
all of it. So it's gonna be it literally is Star Wars. Cool. Which brings us to summarizing Texas Chainsaw Massacre, because we're here for horror, not for my personal horror. It's just
Yes.
Joey Diaz naked. Anyway,
I think you'd have some choice words from you if you heard that comment. And none of them you could put on YouTube.
Meffy phrasing. Holy shit! Stop it! Okay, so Texas Chainsaw Massacre. A lot of the things that quote unquote I liked is the fact that you can see where they were going had they didn't had they had a bigger budget or more leeway on doing things. Maybe it would have been a little bit more tight in terms of editing, a little bit
definitely.
more of developing of characters rather than just okay, it's time to just kill, so let's just kill. Maybe more elaborate kills. Again, this is 74. And if you're saying the director wanted to go more PG with this, that's where you're not going into the George Romero territory of the gore. You're just staying with your own kind of like Attack of the Body Snatchers type deal, where it's not a lot of gore. It's trying to be constrictive, just scaring you, bringing in a lot of like sort of mundane motifs and just giving them a twist to being evil and satanic. The whole like turning the slaughterhouse into a actual scary cult like slaughterhouse or slaughter of people.
Yeah, I got you.
Suggesting the meat is human meat. They don't say it, they just show it. I get that's the like motifs I see where if it was maybe a little bit more developed, maybe that could have worked a little bit better. More characterization of the people who you would kill, where in Friday the 13th, where it's literally again an hour and 45, which is just a little bit longer, you had a lot more character development both for the killer herself and for each individual characters along the way.
Well, I would say even Carpenter did it better in the original Halloween. I mean, you got to at least know the characters other than
and
base
again, we talked about it when we did the Halloween episode last year. Halloween doesn't have a lot of kills,
but it still stands up as a good film.
It's not super bloody. It's not super bloody. There is a tad bit of element of like levity, right? A little bit of levity, not a lot.
Yeah.
And a lot of characterization and building the story piece by piece, where the doctor kind of represents us, where you build it. We know more than the people who get killed, and it kind of builds up and builds up and builds up into the final showdown, right? Where actually Michael actually gets away. In this, the heroine gets away. So like Jamie Lee Curtis, she does manage to be the girl who makes it.
The final girl, yeah.
But the entire story arc of everything else, the family, we don't know anything about them. There's no development, and this story itself is just blah.
And I will say it's a good thing, because before we started, I told you about some of the sequels that come up with characters like Chop Top, and there was like this mountain of corpses that was so weird. And they had I believe it was Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 that had Matthew McConaughey and Renee Zellweger in it, where at the end of it the FBI is involved, and Matthew McConaughey's character actually wasn't crazy the entire time when he kept saying, I'm working for the FBI.
But did he say all right, all right, all right?
No, he didn't, because this was actually before all right.
Was before Dazed and Confused?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, overall, to your points, there are some good bits in this. I just think that the cultural impact that the film had, especially on the horror genre, just cannot be stated enough for what it did. Do I think it's a good movie? No. Do I think it's passable? Overall, after you just watch it once to get like, okay, I see why this is important. And I can see what was inspired by the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. After you watch it the first time, I think you can kind of skip it.
Yeah.
And I know that's terrible as a horror fan, but I think you can skip it.
Yeah. And I've heard somebody say, I don't remember who, maybe it was Nick. I think he did like a watch party of Hellraiser 1 and 2. Yeah, for sure. Not this week. Last week. He did a watch party. I wasn't involved. But the thing is, the stream after, he said that he preferred Hellraiser 2 because it was much more of a developed story rather than just a scene by scene happening, and you don't really understand.
Okay.
And there's you don't really understand where the Cenobites are coming from, because they do tell you a little bit, but it's also you're leaning on information that you kind of already know about the other movies, and you fill in the blanks.
I was thinking, because was it Hellraiser, chat, correct me if I'm wrong, it was Hellraiser 2 didn't have everything about the toy maker, right? That was Hell on Earth.
I think it's 3. On 3 they actually discuss the
because
box.
that's the one that actually had Adam Scott in it. Yeah.
It's been so long. It's been so, and there's so many. There's like it's 7 or 8 of these movies. So
well, the ones that as soon as you go into space, you can just kind of check out of the series.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. That's
the
only thing that was interesting about the later Hellraisers was the new Cenobites that they made at like almost every single film.
Oh, okay. I get it. Anyway, so that was our show for tonight. Kind of a classic one. I did enjoy it, though. There was for me, talking even about bad movies is great because you can pick it apart. Mm-hmm. But you can also grab the good stuff that it brings. The one thing that is, like I said, the good stuff that it brought actually helped other movies maybe be a little bit better, or maybe have their story a little bit tighter, the editing maybe a little bit tighter, or bringing in some different, they did that, I could do that, but I will do it a little bit different, and I can give it a little bit of a twist, so it's mine rather than just that. And that's why I think Texas Chainsaw Massacre will be remembered as a groundbreaking film for bringing certain motif to other horror pictures or other slasher movies or that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So this was our show. I don't have a short version for you guys because like I said, it's been claimed for some reason. So I don't want to make this show being claimed.
Too many lawyers involved, as I mentioned before. Yeah.
Tight and fresh. Yep. And trust me, I wouldn't have been able to give you a good, satisfying version because there were a lot of screams, at least at the end. But next week, guys, watch It Follows, 2014's It Follows. For me, it's going to be a fresh movie. The next couple of movies are going to be a fresh movies for me, movies that I've heard about. Just like we ask you, movies that you heard about maybe and not ever seen, or never heard about it before, or and not seen. This one is never heard it before, haven't seen it, so we're gonna have a fresh take.
Oh, it's good.
How many times have you watched it before?
I would say at least 10 times.
At least 10 times. So that you're gonna have the sort of like back and forth of maybe I like it, maybe I don't like it. Most of the movies that I haven't seen and you suggested kind of turned out fucking great. So I'm gonna see how this goes. So go check out It Follows. Hulu, Amazon Prime, Netflix, wherever you
I think it's
or
on
Tubi.
Netflix.
I don't have it on Netflix on my end. I do have it in some other way.
Yeah.
Don't worry, it's legal. It's legal.
Sure.
It's very legal. I am not doing illicit things. No, trust me.
You wouldn't
got
steal
it.
a car, would you?
I wouldn't steal a car. Definitely. I would definitely not steal a car. So go watch It Follows wherever you can get it. Come back to us next week and we will discuss it yet again. That was our show. Any last words? Not last words.
That's all. No.
Our Father in heaven. No. Thank you for joining us, guys, and we'll see you next week.